Welcome everyone today to part three of breaking into web hacking in 2024. Today we're going to be looking at JWTs, also known as JSON Web Tokens. These are typically used for authentication. So to be able to look at them a little bit more closely, let's go into our porttrigger.net lab here. It's just the apprentice one. This is the first lab we're going to see. And let's see it. Perfect. All right, so the lab uses a JWT-based mechanism for handling sessions. Due to implementation flaws, the server does not verify the signature of any JWTs that it receives. So before we get started, let's understand that the JWT is made up of three components. The first component is the header. So this will tell us the algorithm that is used to sign this. The second part is the data itself. So typically this will tell you the server that gets used to authorize this JWT, and it also will tell you user information like email or username. And then the last part is the signature itself. So let's just start the lab right now. Okay, it's loading. And it's going to make more sense once we intercept an authenticated request and break it apart. While it loads, let's go over to our burp. So it was already kind of teased here when I opened it up, but let's go to our extensions tab here. And on the extension, we're going to search up JWT editor. Perfect. It pops up at the top. It's free. So this is the BAP store, and you could download extensions here to help you in any sort of kind of attack you want to do. A lot of developers will develop tools specifically to integrate with burp, and this is a good way for you to integrate it right into your burp here. So we installed it, and we can see a JWT editor tab open up to our side here. So some of these extensions you will need Burp Pro, but for this one we just need the community edition is fine for us. All right, so let's go into our lab. Cool, it loaded. So let's take this URL and bring it into our Chromium browser. So if you guys remember from the previous episodes, this is the browser that we are intercepting the HTTP traffic from. Perfect. That's our previous lab we did. Cool. So let's look at these credentials. Wiener Peter. So this is username and password. So we're going to go into my account. Cool. Wiener Peter. Oh, invalid username or password. Let's go back. Sometimes we get a letter wrong. Okay. So I think I mismatched the I and the E. So let's type it in correctly this time. And we should be good. Perfect. So we're logged in. We're not going to save these credentials here. So now that we're logged in, let's read the lab. Okay, so we have to access the admin/admin. So let's go to that. And okay, admin interface only available if logged in as administrator. Okay, that's intended. So something cool here about JWT editor, it highlights all the green with the green. It highlights the any sort of request where a JWT token is being used. Here we can see the first one is the post login. So if we click on it, boom, we see our session token is that JWT, and we know because it follows that format of the EYJ. So that's a very easy telltale sign that it is a JWT token. All right, nothing here in our JWT editor yet. And we are just going to send a couple of these requests over to repeater. Perfect. Okay, so this is a login request. And then we're also going to look for the admin request. Where is it? Perfect. Here we see our JWT token is there in our cookie header. And this is what I'm telling you guys about, that it's broken up to three components. So this first component is the header. So it's base64 encoded. If you go over to your inspector tab, you can see that it decodes it automatically for us. We can see the algorithm is RS256. And then the middle part is the data itself. We just got to go from period to period, not including the periods themselves. Okay, where is it? We're looking for that second period. Hmm, okay, there it is. So it's a little bit smaller than what I'm used to here. So here we can see the decoded tab, ISS port swigger. So that is who the what authorized the signature. You might see Microsoft. You might see a bunch of other domains here that create JWTs. And then the last part itself, you can see it's not decoded automatically. So this is the signature itself that verifies that this JWT token came from a valid source and it's a valid token. Cool. All right. So now that we understand that part, let's go back to our repeater here. Cool. Send that over. And what we're gonna do is grab that middle part. So the part that we saw it had our username Wiener. Well, I think it was yeah, it was Wiener. Let's check it. Yep. See sub where it says Wiener. We're just gonna delete that and change it to the username we want to use, which is administrator. And if it works out exactly how we want it to, let's see, administrator. Okay, having a little typing a little too fast here. Perfect. All right, so if this works, we should go get a 200 response. Perfect. Let's render that. And cool. So here we got access to the other users that we could delete. Um, and what we're going to do, we're just going to request that in our browser. Boom, copy that URL. So again, what this does, it's going to replicate the exact same request that we saw here. Boom. Okay, so let's just click delete. Delete on Carlos. Almost deleted myself. Perfect. All right, so admin interface only available if logged in. Okay, so what probably happened is the once we logged in on our browser, the token reverted back to being Wiener as opposed to administrator. So let's go back to that request that we intercepted here, already highlighted in green for us. Perfect. So we have Wiener here. Let's change that out to administrator. Perfect. All right. Apply changes. And after sending this request, we should have this lab solved. Cool. So we got a 302. It's a good sign. Okay, render that out. 200. We follow the redirect here. Perfect. Lab is solved. Cool. So that's the most basic way that a JWT could be abused. Typically, out in the wild right now, you won't see implementations like that. As you can see, it really didn't care about the signature part itself. So we could have just changed this middle part, and it didn't really care. It didn't verify the last part that it was valid. So just to verify this, here we're going to change the algorithm to none and delete that last part with the signature here. Uh, and what we're testing here is to see if it even cares that there's a sign at all. And boom, just as the lab name suggested, it really doesn't care if there's a signature or not at all. And as you can see, by doing this, we could change our username to any username we want. So the good thing is you won't really find this out in the wild anymore. It's been patched heavily. A lot of applications will not be vulnerable to this, but it's still good to test it, especially when learning how JWTs work. Okay, so let's move on to a slightly harder lab here. This is a practitioner level. So for this one, what I like about this lab actually is that we're going to have to use that JWT editor that I had you guys download earlier. Very similar thing that we're going to have to do. We're going to have to log in, get access to the admin panel by changing our token, and delete Carlos. Cool. All right, so I'm just going to um, log in right here. Perfect. So I'm already logged in, probably from the previous lab. We're going to go to admin right now directly. Cool. All right, so it didn't carry over. We still need to be logged in as administrator. We're going to copy that name directly. I don't want to be spending my time making typos here. Cool. All right, so we see the request. We're just going to grab the admin one right away, send it over to repeater. This time, it does care about the signature portion. So what we're going to do now, let's go to a JWT editor, click new RSA key, JWK, and we're just going to generate a new set of keys here. Cool. So what this is going to do is essentially creating the key for us, saying that it's valid, it's coming from our source, and we're going to use this to essentially spoof wherever we had our administrator. Well, when we change our payload information here to Wiener, we are going to also change that JWT component at the top header. Cool. So here we navigate to our JSON Web Token tab that you're going to see this on requests that have the JWT. And again, we're changing our name into administrator. Click attack. And we're going to use the embedded JWK, the keys that we initially created here. Boom. Gets automatically added. And we're going to send that request over. Perfect. Okay, so we got a 200. Okay, this time we learned that if we try to log in, it's going to change it again. So we're going to look for that URL that does the delete action. Cool. Also, it's very dangerous to have actions that delete like this on the URL and the get request. As you can see, we're able to just kind of put that in the URL, and if someone's logged in, they automatically will do that request. So it's a little bit dangerous to be able to do delete actions like this. So definitely don't recommend it. Cool. So we were able to delete Carlos. And if you look at our, cool, it's solved. Perfect. Just verifying that it did solve on the browser, and it does look solved for us. Sweet. Application bypass. Okay. All right. So before I lost my train of thought there, so this JWT token, if you guys paid close attention, it kind of looks a little bigger than that original one we had. Uh, so let's decode it so you guys can see exactly what happened. Let's highlight that first part. Boom. You can see that first part, that header part is now bigger. And here we can see our key, our JWK, the one we created. It creates new keys for us that essentially will tell the server that this is a valid JWT token, even though we essentially forged it. And all we really needed to do here to get this done is have one good authenticated session for us, which in this case was our default Wiener Peter. So hopefully today you guys learned a little bit more about JWTs, what they are, how to use them, and most importantly, how to abuse them for you to be able to do anything you want. We only tackle the one apprentice and one practitioner, so I recommend you guys familiarize yourself a little bit more with this by checking out the other two labs. Uh, Tune in next week. We will be tackling a little bit more databases. In the meantime, peace, bugs, and muscles, guys.